The moment you've all been waiting for.
You what?
Well, that hit the spot.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Gosscast with myself, Ali Ryan, and Kendra Becker. Hey. How are we this week, Kendra?
Good. I feel like I haven't seen you in ages. I literally just saw you. I feel so weird today because I actually left the house to go somewhere, and I feel like I've done a marathon. Really? Like it's so weird to even like leave the house to go and do something.
I know.
Like when I came back, I was like, Jesus Christ.
Dying. For anyone watching, listening, obviously I am vaccinated. When you have one vaccination of AstraZeneca and you're post 4 weeks, it's safe to see people indoors. So Kendra actually came to my house.
We had a little meeting.
Yeah, which is really exciting. It is nice to have a purpose with your day though, isn't it? Like to wear makeup, to put clothes on, to walk to somewhere else that's not your house. I
know. Even like when I was getting on the Lewis, I was like, hello, other people, strangers. It's weird still.
Isn't it bizarre when you think of life like before the pandemic, like how busy it actually was? Like you'd be up, you'd be having your breakfast, you'd be putting your makeup on, doing your hair, walking in, getting a Lewis, setting up, having coffee when you get into like there was hours added on to every day just to literally get into work.
I know, and like even because like we were talking about it earlier today, like how hectic our lives used to be, and like especially with, you know, our line of work and stuff, we'd go to events and stuff in the evening, and like you'd be at the events till fucking all hours, and then like I would be up at 6 a.m. to be getting ready for work because, you know, you'd have to put makeup on again to go to something else. So it was just like constantly go, go, go. It's weird to think that we'll eventually get back to that.
Will we?
When? I don't know.
We were talking earlier, right? 2018.
It was like the craziest year of our lives.
It was the wildest year of our lives
in
terms of personal life, business life. Just it's the year that me and Kendra went to the Oscars together. We did New York Fashion Week together. We went to the
We did everything. Like you name it, we did it. We did it.
Name a county, name a country.
We were there. We were there.
Like somehow, and just so many wild things happened. Like we were just talking with some of the stories, and we were just like
things we could never tell.
But like now, I'm like, I honestly can't imagine those stories right now. Like if you were to tell me 5 of us are going to jump in a Jeep and go to this restaurant, and like the story we were talking about earlier on, it's so hard to imagine it now, isn't it? Like because we haven't done something like that in so long.
I know, it's mental. And it's because a lot of the things we did were kind of spontaneous. So it's just like, I can't even imagine that
happening. What I feel is missing from my
lives. Yeah.
It's spontaneity. It's like when you're out for a walk around town, you're getting something at Brian Thomas and you bump into someone, you're like, oh, do you want to grab a drink? Like they're always the nights that turn wild, or it's like where you meet someone, or you just have so many stories to tell. Whereas everything is so planned. Everything is so timed. You can only do certain things for a certain amount of time, all that sort of stuff. Actually, I had this dream the other night. It was so weird. I had a dream on Monday night that I randomly, and it was still the pandemic. So like even my dream world is like COVID exists. But I literally decided to book flights to Vegas. I got on the flight on my own. As I do. You know I love that anyway. So booked flights on my own, landed in Vegas. Muse were playing in the MGM Grand Arena. And if anyone doesn't know, Muse are my favorite.
Oh, you love Muse.
Favorite band. And then I didn't even have tickets. So I like went up to the Ticketmaster place, ended up getting tickets, got into like, that would be a typical story if I told you that, Kendra. Like in 2019, if I was like, rolled up to Vegas, bought the tickets an hour ago, got there, was no tickets, got them, went, like all that stuff used to happen. But anyway, in my dream, I was so happy. I was by myself, like by myself in the flight, by myself in the gate. But I was just so happy to have gotten out of the country. And I was still wearing my mask and everything. Like I remember all that from the dream, but it was just the feeling of booking a flight, the feeling of going somewhere, the feeling of being at a gig. Like they are 3 things that just don't happen anymore.
I know, it's so weird. And like even I know, I just can't even imagine being like in a crowd at the moment. Like even getting on the Lewis earlier on, I was like, it's weird.
We were talking about this earlier. There's obviously a lot of experiments going on, mainly in the UK, but they've all come back really strong. Like the Brits were one of them. There's a lot of matches taking place. Liverpool did a couple of events, and literally there's been no trace of any COVID outbreaks from any of them. These are like people all outside, and none of them are indoors. But I think we could all be fine with outdoor festivals. Like that's the way it was anyway. Like I don't think I'm looking back to like the 3 Arena tomorrow for a gig, but if you told me that Electric Picnic was happening this year, I think I'd probably go.
I honestly think it will happen. I think it'll probably be reduced numbers, and obviously like you'll have to get COVID tests and all that stuff before.
Look at the tickets if they're going to be reduced.
I
like,
know. No, that could be me fucking completely starting a rumor. Like, you know.
No, you're probably right though.
Yeah. Because like how many people go to Electric Picnic every year?
And also you have to remember with something like Electric Picnic, this part hasn't been tested yet. It's the camping. It's the staying over.
Yeah. That's the thing. That would be the picture, I think.
Yeah, like Glastonbury and stuff is the same. I'd say they might nip that in the bud, or else you'd only be allowed to camp with like your pod of people, because I feel like that's where you would get COVID, just like inside a tent.
Yeah, in a sweaty tent.
Have you ever camped at any of the festivals?
I actually have not. I'm not a camping gal. Now I am, but I'm also not. Like I would do it, but I wouldn't enjoy it. You know?
Does it surprise anyone watching us or listening to us that me and you have never camped, nor will we ever?
Never. Now I've camped, like not at a festival, obviously, but it sounds like my idea of hell, having to get up and you're hungover to bits. You have to find some sort of like wipe to take the glitter off your face. Like that just sounds like
no showers, unless it's like a public shower. No, like I was literally talking to someone about this the other day. They were like, "Oh, like, would you be up for camping?" I was like, "Have you met me?"
Have you met me? Now I do glamping.
Yeah,
I'm into that.
That's what I said. Like EP have really good glamping areas. They're like mini caravans, aren't they?
Yeah.
And you can get those teepees. Yeah, I'm up for that. But you want to throw me in a tent on a muddy ground with water, rain. People randomly trying to set fire to my tent throughout the night. I wouldn't be able to.
I know. You know, actually, I was talking about
pissing on your tent, like
thing. Like I was talking to my brother about it the other day, because he used to go to Oxygen back in the day. I think I was still a bit too young. And he was like, I don't know how Oxygen was allowed. Like he was like, the things that happened at Oxygen, it was so bad. Like genuine tents getting set on fire like nonstop.
That's why I said that. I went to Oxygen when I was 16 at first, and then 17 again. But I always stayed in my friend's house because I was living in Limerick at the time. I stayed in my friend's house in Dublin and got the bus out. And I remember the second day getting the bus out, meeting one of my mates. And I was like, "How'd you get on last night?" And they were like, "Oh, like our tent was set on fire." I was like, "Sorry, like what?" Oxygen was wild, and like the shit that car parks and everything.
Have you looked back at like the old Oxygen lineups? Like the people that played at Oxygen, it was like Lady Gaga, Beyonce, like insane.
Muse, they played one.
Muse.
I remember my like wildest memory from festival times. Hope my mother's not listening now. But I went down, it must have been 16, and me and my friend, obviously we're going to an off license for like one of the first times ever. So I didn't know what to buy. So instead of buying like vodka, rum, bottle of tequila, right?
Oh no.
I was like
the worst idea ever. Even if like I'm 26 and I'm like,
no, I will never drink tequila again. This is why. So I was like, yeah, I'll buy tequila. And I remember going to the off license. I had my sister's ID, who had like long black hair, but we do kind of look similar. And I remember the off license guy being like, "This is probably your sister." And I was like, Anyway, got the bottle of tequila, got it into Oxygen, was allowed with a full bottle of tequila. Maybe I hid it, I can't remember. But anyway, Arctic Monkeys are playing, and back in these days when I wasn't allergic to every person on earth, and I don't even mean because of COVID, like I'm just allergic to everyone anyway, but I was mosh pitting, you know? So me and my friend...
You were like the last person on earth I can ever picture moshing.
No, like, I have been in many a mosh pit.
No,
I had a band and everything back then, okay? I was fucking cool. I was cool. I was like a rocker, my electric guitar and my... But anyway, so we went and we were like, let's go to Arctic Monkeys. And then we went to go into the mosh pit. And then there was security people there, because obviously they didn't care about underage people drinking, but they cared about things being thrown at the band, obviously. So they looked through our bags and they found this fully not opened bottle of tequila. And they were like, no, girls, like, obviously you can't go with this. You're going to have to drink it. And we were just like, okay. So the two of us, like, I honestly don't know how much.
How are you alive? How did you not have to go to the hospital and get your stomach pumped? Like,
we didn't drink the whole bottle. We drank most of it though. But I remember, like, I've never touched drugs in my whole life, which you can back me up on, Kendra. Never. I remember those 10 minutes after I drank that bottle where you're euphoric. Like, I just remember I was literally 16. I never drank. And I had all this tequila. So those 10 minutes were probably the best 10 minutes of my life. Like, I was off my face, had the best time in the mosh pit. Anyway, I kind of woke up, so obviously I blocked it. I kind of woke up when I was in a circle with two of my other friends who I hadn't come with. I was like, oh my God, like, I can't believe you did yours. It's crazy. And they were like, Ali, like, you literally rang us 35 times. Then I checked my, like, last dial, my Nokia phone, and I had called Limerick train station and I'd asked them to come pick me up. Like,
no. You know, that makes so much sense, because random little fact for you. Tequila is like the only alcohol which is an upper, not a downer.
Well, the other half to this story might test that theory.
Oh shit, right.
When I saw everyone, I'd obviously thought that I'd happened 10 minutes ago. It'd been like 2 hours earlier where I got them all together. They said I was vomiting and crying by the t-shirt stand, and that
maybe they were tears of joy. You don't know. You don't know.
Apparently, security guard tried to, like, Joey, there's like on-site jails and stuff if you're doing underage.
Did you end up in oxygen jail?
I didn't. Apparently, a security guard was trying to get me there, and the girls found me. So, like, obviously, if you're underage, I'm not telling you should do this. It was stupid. Like, but I just remember those few minutes being like, this is like the best day of my life. It cut to me crying, vomiting, ringing everyone. Like, I was just like, no. So I've honestly drank tequila. That was when I was 16, maybe 17. I've only drank tequila 3 times since then. One of them was in Mexico, so that's fine. But if I even smell tequila, like, I feel like I'm gonna vomit. Like that.
I love tequila. It's like one of my drinks. Margaritas are my drink.
I can't drink margaritas either. Maybe that's why. Maybe that
is why.
But yeah, so
they are very heavy on the tequila.
I would have camped back then, like I wanted to, but my mum wouldn't let me. So how I went from this little rocker, grungy, tequila drinking, Arctic Monkey fangirling girl to me, I don't know.
I don't know. What a transition.
You couldn't pay me. If you were like, I'll give you $5,000 to sleep in a general area in EP. No, I wouldn't do it.
No. Now it depends on like the weather. If it's raining, you couldn't pay me to go. But if it was actually really nice weather, then maybe. I don't know.
But anyway, it'd be interesting to see what happens with.
Anyway, of course, we went completely off topic there. We literally do this.
Before we jump into this week's topic, let's go over all the big things happened in the last week. One of the things that I was obsessed with was the Eurovision. I know this happened last weekend, but Kendra, you didn't watch the final. It was the most dramatic thing I have seen in so long. I actually want you to watch it back. It's like a scene out of Anchorman. Like, it's not real. It's so dramatic. If anyone watching or listening saw it, it's just like it all turned so quickly. The UK didn't even get 1 point.
Not a singular point.
Not a singular point. They seemed so up in arms. Like, as well, where was it in? It was in the Netherlands. The Netherlands got no points either. They were in their hometown. Like, it was so dramatic. And then obviously the guys that won, their Italian rock band. As if that night wasn't dramatic enough by how they won. Then he was accused of doing coke, because there was a video of him like leaning down on a table, and he was like, the fact that people thought I was doing coke, like, it was kind of mean that people just presumed he was like doing.
Yeah, I know, completely. Drugs. And like the video, like to look at it at a glance, you'd be like, oh, but if you properly look at it, like you can see that his hands are there, like you can see that he's.
Why would he be doing drugs on live TV in front of
millions?
I saw as well Elizabeth Banks quote tweeted Michael Fry. He was talking about the Eurovision, and she was like, God, I wish I had the Eurovision here. Like, the Eurovision to Americans must be wild.
I did really like Italy's song as well.
Did you?
Yeah, I actually liked it. It was good. Like, if you listen to it again, Like it is good. It is.
Do it again. Have you watched Eurovision on Netflix? That movie?
Yeah, I did. I think I watched it when I was extremely hungover though, so I actually barely remember.
I thought it was kind of shit, and I thought it was a weird casting for Rachel McAdams. But when I was watching what happened, I was like, this is actually even more cringe than the movie. Like the movie was actually calm compared to like what went on in the end. Like they need to make a Eurovision 2 and relive those moments because it was wild. And Will Ferrell actually tweeted about the finale as well. So it was the weirdest experience. I was home last weekend for my mum's birthday, so we were just watching it being like, oh yeah, it's Eurovision. And then we were like, sorry, what? We just got so enthralled. That was one of my favorite stories in the week. Also obsessed with the fact that Disenchanted is filming here with Patrick Dempsey and Amy Adams, but I'm more obsessed with the actual house that's been created.
Yeah, so the house is actually in Greystones. But it's been made into this it's like the most magical looking building ever. Like it's bright pink. It's very Goss.ie. Maybe we should like look into putting our office there.
I should just roll up in the middle of filming and Patrick Dempsey be like, oh my god, what's going on? I'm like, sorry, this would be a perfect office for me. Can I just take the photos?
Yeah.
But
sorry, Patty.
I've seen people walking past it though. It's like out on the road, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's someone's gaff,
like, can we pop in for a cup of tea?
Can we pop in and say hello to McDreamy?
Mr. McDreamy. I love his enthusiasm about being here. He's trying to be the new Matt Damon. He definitely is, because he's like, I just love Ireland. Like, if he doesn't get on the final Late Late, when is the final Late Late, Kendra? It's this month, right?
It's this week.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
If Patrick
maybe he'll be a special guest.
He would be such.
We could be calling that right now. You might be predicting the future.
Get your bets on, lads. What else happened this week? Oh, Maura Higgins being spotted with Chris Hughes. I don't really believe this one. Like they're with the same management. I think it was just.
I think they're just mates, but I wouldn't say no to that couple.
Really?
I wouldn't say no. Yeah, I think I actually really liked. So Chris Hughes, his series of Love Island was with Kem Setney, and they were so funny together. I actually really liked Chris on Love Island. So yeah, I can see it, but I also I don't think it's happening. But like, I wouldn't.
I find it weird they would do a photo op like that though. Personally, I just didn't think Maura would be like that, given that her and Chris Taylor only just were. I just thought it was weird.
Now, apparently, it was like they were having some sort of management day out.
Oh, okay. And
there was actually other people there. It's just the Paps obviously got very convenient photos of them just walking together.
Okay, my faith is with Maura again. Okay, yeah. That's probably what happened. I'd hate to be Chris Taylor. Like, it is so annoying when you're genuinely that famous. Like, you look at someone and they're like, they're dating. You know? Yeah. That's why when Ben and Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, when they were like the first rumors about them getting back together, I was like, come on, they probably went for a coffee. And now I'm like, no, they're fully in love, fully back together.
Fully.
And I saw a picture of him outside their Miami hotel room or house. I don't know what it was. I don't know if you saw it, and he was smoking, but it wasn't his like.
Our favorite meme.
Yeah, it was like a happy smoke. It was like, you know, you can tell.
Oh, he's happily puffing away now.
Like he's happy. And what else big news was there this week? 2FM's breakfast show.
Yeah, so this is actually so exciting because I feel like the show in general, so it's obviously 2FM breakfast show. I feel like the show in general needed a revamp.
Yeah, totally.
Because I personally was a really big fan of Breakfast Republic. I really liked the dynamic. I loved it. I really liked the dynamic between Jen and Keith and Bernard, like a three. So they've basically they're kind of bringing that back. So it's Darren and her two new co-hosts, Carl Milan and Donegal O'Callaghan. And I think they're really ticking a lot of boxes with the two of them. Yeah. And I really like Carl. He's so funny. I wouldn't know Donegal as much, but I've heard him. I think he did a guest segment with Darren a while ago, and he was actually really funny. So yeah, I'm excited. I think it's a really good move for 2FM.
Yeah, I was wondering as well, like, remember there was so many people in the mix. There was like Marty Guilfoyle, Greg O'Shea was being tipped for a while, and obviously Greg worked with Darren, so I was wondering, was Greg going to be one of the lineups? So it's interesting I wonder how they got to the process of picking them. And also Stephen Byrne and Tara Stewart were doing mornings. I really enjoyed that. Like I would have loved
they did such a good job.
I've always been such a fan of Stephen in particular. I've always thought like he'd be so good on Breakfast. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I remember when Breakfast Republic were first put together, there was a lot of controversy about that. Like people really care about the morning shows. Like they genuinely have such a strong opinion on it, like who's on it, whether they like them or not. I think it's good to have Donica in there because he's very different to Darren, very different to Carl. He's a totally separate element. He's kind of like, I'm trying to think, because you know the way like Hector was on before Breakfast Public.
Yeah.
And Hector left, apparently there was like so many complaints. Like so
really?
Yeah, people loved him. So I think it's good to have someone that isn't like Dublin centric.
Yeah, exactly. I think people forget obviously 2FM is a national radio station. It's not just like a regional thing.
Yeah.
So there's people listening from Kerry, fucking, you know, Mayo, stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's just such a good move for them and it's exciting. I think they needed a refresh, you know.
Yeah. I think we're ever going to get an explanation from 2FM to why McDermott is no longer part of the whole station.
Like, will we? Probably not.
Where is he at?
I'd like an explanation, but who knows?
Every time we do any story about Darren in the show, we get so many angry tweets and angry messages being like, talk about McDermott. I'm like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, we don't know. Let us know. We'd like to know.
It's weird. I do think it's weird that nothing's been talked about, nothing's been discussed. It's like, do we just forget about this forever? Like,
it is a weird one. I think they will have to address it at some point. They can't just completely pretend that nothing has happened, like, and that he just was gone.
Might sound like a bitch for bringing it up, but for anyone listening, I dare you to Google Goss.ie Owen McDermott rap and then come back to me because there was a rap. God, how many years ago was this?
God, it was a long time ago.
5 or 6 years ago. And it contained the words, fuck you, Ali, twice in the chorus. And 2FM played it 3 times, twice the day of, another the day after. And then literally a year and a half, 2 years later, someone was like, you know that Goss.ie rap is on Aer Lingus flights in the podcast section. I was like, what? And it was around the time of the Taylor Swift Kanye West drama. I remember. It was the same week.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah,
that was fucked up. Like, let's call a spade a spade. I was pissed off. Like, that was not good. It was not a positive experience for me.
But yeah, will we get any answers? Probs not. But anyway,
we'll move on.
We'll move on.
But today, what we wanted to talk about, way more importantly, is TV. What's on? What's coming up? What we're loving. So we're going to get into Love Island in a few minutes, but firstly, we want to talk about the Real Housewives franchise. So New York, Beverly Hills, they're all back. I don't watch any of the other franchises, so I think at some point we're going to have to do that. But New York is like a few episodes ahead of Beverly Hills. So, do you know what I love about the two of them, though? I don't know if you've watched them both, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Every episode at some point there's someone being like, oh, my mask. I need to put my mask. Like, no one's wearing their mask. Like, no one cares about COVID. They keep going.
Ramona Singer is the worst.
No, like
from New York. Oh my God.
But saying that like she donated her blood, and then she was like, well, and they were like, did you donate your blood?
Yeah, I love how Leah was calling her out. She was like, I think it's like a huge process to donate your plasma. Like,
yeah, she's like, doesn't matter.
She's like, I did it. Leah was like, I think you didn't, so you're lying.
I did it. No, it's actually so true. Oh my God. But it's so good. Do you know what's weird? I thought I'd be pissed watching these reality shows, seeing people not be COVID safe and all that stuff. It's actually been a nice escape. I'm kind of grand about it. Like, the other thing, like, I think they are trying, like, they are talking about being tested, they're talking about their masks. You can tell the shows are different, like, they're not doing all the same things they used to do. There's no real vacations or anything like that. But, like, I feel like in a few episodes in, we're going to start seeing kind of mad stuff.
Yeah, like, when I was watching the first episode of Beverly Hills, you know, the part where Lisa Rinna goes to meet Garcelle for dinner or lunch or whatever, and they're sitting in this outdoor area and like all the tables are really far away from each other. And for a second I was like, that's a bit weird. And then I was like, oh, it's all because of COVID. I was like, oh.
Yeah, no, that made sense. Oh, I'm just, I feel like now that both the households are back, nature is healing,
Nature is truly healing.
Nature is truly healing. I'm excited as well. I love in the first episode they kind of tease the season ahead, and like in the New York one, it was like they're all like, "It's so great to meet you. Everything's so great." In the first episode, and then it was like 3 weeks later or whatever. You see them cut to like screaming,
throwing drinks at each other.
The reason I love New York, it's another level on top of Beverly Hills. Like, you don't know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a glass thrown, screaming. Someone's gonna have an affair. Someone's husband's gonna die. Like, it's so dramatic compared to Beverly Hills. But I do love Beverly Hills, and I think my favorite in Beverly Hills now is Lisa Rinna. I just love her.
Yeah, I love Lisa Rinna, and I've loved her for like the past few seasons. She's just such an iconic Housewives character as a whole. Yeah. But you know what I was actually going to say, and she's grown on me so much, and like I think I used to kind of not really like her, but now I love her, is Dorit. I actually really like Dorit, and she's so stylish. I love the things she wears.
Stylish. Yeah, I do love her Instagram. Like out of all of them, I really follow her on Instagram. Like I watch what she posts.
And I think like, I know she's just really cute with her kids, and the way she, PK.
The accent does kind of grind me.
I think it's kind of funny now though. She's like, listen, PK, buy some Louis Vuitton. Like it's weird. It's like, are you English? No.
Remember the season she joined? They were all talking about it, and they like YouTube this interview video with her where she's completely different.
Because like she's from where's she actually from?
Like upstate New York or something.
Yeah, something like that. It's so random.
PK. But actually, I also love that she's friends with Robbie Keane and Claudine Keane. That also makes me like her more, because I really
love that. Yeah.
So when I kind of realized they were close friends, I was like, no, Dorit.
Any kind of connection to Ireland, we're like, love that.
Now, my all-time favorite is Kyle. Like, I love Kyle. Kyle's queen bee. I love her family. I think she looks amazing. Like, when you look at her, like
Bob nose job.
After she hurt her nose.
Yeah, that's such a fucking lie.
God, gotta get it. But she did look good. At least she admits it. Like, there's certain reality stars that clearly have gotten a fucking nose job and we'll never know about it.
Yeah.
But I think she looks really good. I felt really sad for her. Like, even in the first episode, you kind of see the kind of clips with Kathy Hilton being in it this season, which is weird because Kathy's always been so anti it. Because apparently in the very first season of Beverly Hills, they wanted Kathy to be on it.
Yeah.
It was almost going to be Kyle, Kim, and Kathy. Like, it was going to be their kind of vibe. And she didn't want to go on it. And it's interesting that she would choose to come on it now, the kind of same 12-month period within Paris, bringing out her documentary, because I don't think Kathy came across well at all.
No.
Like, it basically looked like she shoved her daughter into a prison that traumatized her for the rest of her life. And even, when Paris is telling her what happened, and Kathy's like, what? Did that happen? So I'm wondering, is this a bit of a PR exercise to be like, I'm going to go on the show, I'm going to be super nice?
I think she was kind of waiting as well, because I think it's only in the past 2 years, because obviously Housewives has been around for like over 10 years, but it's only kind of in the past 2 or 3 years, I think, that it's gotten like really, really huge, like internationally.
Yeah.
So I think she was kind of waiting to see like how credible it was. I don't know, but like I think, because me and you know as well, like the Housewives, they get paid so much fucking money to be on the show. Like, I don't think people actually realize that how much money they actually get, because Bravo is a huge channel over in the US.
Do you know what? Real Housewives of New York have reminded me why I hate New York. Like, they're all on so much money, and their apartments are like, they're smaller than my house, because that's probably 20 grand a month they're spending. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes I watch it and I feel like cramped. I'm like, oh my God. And then they go out to their Long Island houses or whatever, and it's like huge, or the Berkshires. Oh, I do miss her actually.
Oh, Dorinda, I know she's like one of my favorites. I can't believe she's gone. I'm hoping they'll bring her back next season. And also Bethany Frankel is like one of my all-time favorite housewives.
That's why New York is kind of iconic separately. Like New York was the first one, by the way. That was the first Real Housewives. Like I remember I told Kendra to watch it and you were like, it's such crap quality though. I was like, watch them all. Like
you were like, just wait.
But like it's interesting to see how the franchise has evolved. And I feel like Ramona thinks she's fully responsible for the success of all the Bravo TV series.
Yeah, definitely has, like, she thinks she's the queen.
She is actually the most annoying housewife to me. Like of all, and I don't mean, there's a lot of past housewives I don't like, but if we're to look at the current lineup of New York and Beverly Hills, if there was one person you were like who do you not want to meet, I'd be like Ramona. I feel like she'd fuck me off in 2 seconds meeting her. Like,
yeah, 100%.
And even, do you remember when what series was it? But when the Trump vote was passing and like
yeah.
Well, I was just like, no. But yeah, Beverly Hills, when's the second episode? Is that this week?
I think it's tonight. Yeah. So
another thing I've been religiously watching only for the last like 24 hours was Keeping Up with the Kardashians, the final season. I know you're well into it now, but Kendra had been like, just get ready to see Tristan Thompson shoved in your face, like physically shoved.
He is well and truly shoved down your neck this season.
I like him less. Like I actually think it's a bad idea to put him on screen. He doesn't come across well at all. His motives are so transparent. Like every time he's in the confessional, he's like, Chloe, you're amazing. Chloe, whatever Chloe wants, you're the queen. I'm like, right, we get it. You're trying to get back together. And then also the thing that I found weird, right, was like this season, Chloe's really like, I'm starting to keep my life private. She's reading all the comments. It's pissing her off. She's like, no, that's it. Like, and she's kind of keeping Tristan a secret because she's like, I don't want to share this part of my life anymore. But then the episode where they all discuss whether or not to end Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Chloe was the only one who said she wanted to keep doing it. And I thought that was really weird because she's the one this whole season that's been like, I don't want to do this in terms of being in the public eye anymore. She's like, I'm sick of being talked about, my body, my face, my relationship. And then she's the one being like, I wanted to stay. But I wonder, is she worried about her career? Like what she's worried about, because Courtney's happy for it to be over. She didn't really want to be on it for the last few years anyway. Kim has her law going on. Her marriage is falling apart. She has Skims. She's KKW. Is Chloe the one being like, shit?
I think so, because if you think about it, if you think about the show as a whole over the past few years, the person that's really shared the most of their life is Chloe. Like bad stuff and good, like all the Tristan shit. Like it was really a lot of Chloe's stuff that was dragged up in the show.
And also, it was weird. It was weird when they talked about the career and stuff, because you kind of forget sometimes when you're watching the show that like there's 15 people probably in the room filming it. There's lighting, sound, blah, blah. And in the scene where they're in Palm Springs and Chris is there with Kyle Richards, actually, she's saying like, everyone in this room right here, she's like, these are my family. And again, you're like, oh fuck, there's like a whole room of people. So like, imagine, right, you're a camera crew, like you're filming or you're sound or you're a producer, you're standing there and you're sitting there watching Chloe bawl her eyes out, finding out that Tristan just cheated. Like, what the fuck do you do in those moments? Like, you have to film it, you have to get the content, you have to edit the sound, but like you obviously become so a part of the story yourself, because I'm sure once they go, right, cut, you're obviously gonna hug the girl and be like, Jesus, like, are you okay? Like, it must be a real like emotional experience to work on a show like that.
And she even mentioned it as well. She was like, you know, one of the cameramen, he stayed with me on like Christmas Day when I was on my own in Dallas, and that's when she had to move to Dallas with Lamar Odom because he was signed with some team there. And like, think of all the Lamar stuff that they probably would have gone through with her. And also, like, they are obviously a part of their family.
We know as well what the Kardashian Jenners are like in terms of loyalty and confidentiality and stuff like that. There's been a lot of friends boosted out in recent years. And I would say more than anyone in this world, the people that know the shit about them the most is that crew.
Oh yeah,
like they've been there since day one. They've probably seen things that never made the show because Kim and Chris and Chloe or whatever cut it out. They're all executive producers. They're able to cut stuff out. Like they must have seen, heard, been around, like phone calls, like walking in on things. Like I'd say the amount of shit, because the fact they said that some of the crew were there since day one, I was like, okay, they must really trust them.
There was actually one of the cameramen, and I think it was only like a year or two ago. It was when they were filming in Palm Springs. Remember that? And they went to that big drag show. And no, it wasn't that time. But it was, I remember Chloe was filming in the car and she was on her Instagram story and she actually tagged one of the cameramen. And I went and followed him on Instagram then. And he he used to share like loads of behind the scenes stuff. And he has been on the show like literally since the very beginning. I think his name is Caesar or something like that. But I remember when they announced that the show was ending, like he put up this huge emotional post and stuff. I was just like, it must be so sad.
You just forget that there's like a whole like machine behind this. Like there's so many people involved. Like, and it just made me realize like the stuff that happened, like even watching Courtney give birth to Mason, like there was a team of people in the room who were like a part of that. Like
literally saw her vagina. Like
it was weird,
you know.
It was weird just for a second to. I feel like this season more than most, they're really like talking about the crew and like the odd time. Kim especially is like, I don't want to talk about this on camera. You know what I mean? She's kind of more. But it's interesting as well, like when Scott is kind of saying he doesn't want change to happen, blah, blah, they're all saying the same sentence, which is, you know, coming to work every day and seeing your family is amazing. Like I work with the best people. So you're kind of like, that's kind of
it's work.
Like they basically were getting call sheets being like, right, you're at Chris's house today at 10 a.m. like a TV show, being like, you're coming at 10, you're doing filming, we're going to bring up Kanye, we're going to bring up this. Like I know what some of these reality shows are like because I know some people that make them, and like, you know, I don't know if you notice it, but I've noticed it a few times this season. Like the camera will be looking elsewhere, like to the ocean or something, and then you'll hear someone being like, so Scott and Courtney, are you getting back together? And I'm like, that definitely didn't happen that way.
Yeah, it was definitely added in. Yeah, like a voiceover clip.
Would have been like, you know, they're like family, so I'd say it's not as bad. But I know with like Made in Chelsea and stuff like that, they would run literally, you'd be sitting in a bar, the producers wouldn't tell you who you're gonna meet, nothing. And then like suddenly this girl that you hate walks in and you're like, you've no idea. And then suddenly the producer will say to her, tell her what happened last night.
Oh my, like, can you imagine being on a show like that? The anxiety and being like on camera. No.
Like I said to your boyfriend last night, and then you are like, that's what those shows are like Towie, all of them. Like I remember in Towie, I don't watch anymore, but I watched the Lauren Goodger kind of years and Mark Wright years. And I remember there was one year where Lauren was in a bar, and again, it's always staged, like there's never people talking. It's just like really quiet. It's very different to the Kardashians, I suppose, in that way. But I remember Lucy Mecklenburg walking in, and she literally looked to the camera and looked back and was like, oh, what? And then she was like, I slept with Mark last night. I was like, ah!
Like no, I can't deal with that.
You pay me enough money to be on a show. I would have panic attacks every time the door opened.
Like, yeah, you just be like, who's coming?
Who's coming? But obviously the Kardashians are so different. But I'm interested to see how they ended. Like, are you fully caught up on
I am. Of course.
So what's the like teaser for the last episode? What are they saying happens?
For the last episode, we actually don't know. It's not airing until next month.
Okay.
But you know what I can't wait for is they're doing a huge Housewives style reunion with Andy Cohen, which is going to be so like injects that into my veins.
Andy's going to be like, Scott, Courtney, why aren't you together? And then it's going to
be like, Andy is so good at asking those like awkward as fuck questions.
Imagine sitting down Andy with Chloe and Tristan. You're like, Chloe, are you back together?
I know.
I'm so excited. That's gonna be so cool. But like, I'm interested to see what happens next. Like, I'm sorry, like, this is not the end of Keeping Up. Like, as in, there's going to be something else.
Well, their Hulu show is like apparently coming out like later this year,
which is basically the same thing.
I don't know. I think it's going to be very focused on their businesses, which I'm a bit kind of like,
like,
I don't really, I don't know.
Yeah, more like building an empire sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was interesting though, because they never, obviously because it's an show, they're not going to show, but they never really discussed why they didn't go for it. Like, was the issue that they were about to renegotiate the contract and the amount? Like, what do we know about actually what happened?
The rumors are that I don't think were offered enough money to stay with E.
Okay.
But that's all very alleged, obviously.
So obviously.
But I'd say like Hulu is connected to Disney. I'd say they're getting fucking fuckloads of money from them.
I mean, like we've talked about this before, like the ratings have gone down for Keeping Up in America on, you know, particularly. But I'd say that makes more sense then, because the discussion then becomes, are we willing to keep doing this for that price? Whereas if they were offered a gazillion, they'd obviously be like,
yeah.
But that's why it's interesting about Chloe. It's like, where will Chloe's millions come from though? If Chloe doesn't continue with the show, and that's why a part of me feels like her and Tristan are trying to get a show. Like they're the only ones really couple wise on the show that are doing things together. There's no other couple in the show. Like they're very, I don't know.
You couldn't fucking pay me to watch that show, to be honest. Like he grinds my gears so much.
Right. But it is sad that it's coming to an end, and I've loved Keeping Up. Like I know a lot of people are like, oh, the Kardashians, blah, blah. I'm sorry, like they're a billionaire family now at this point. And like it's just lighthearted. Like I don't want to go, oh my god, like Kim is so amazing. I want to be her.
Yeah, like they're not, you know, solving like world wars here, you know, like it is what it is kind of thing.
But I like it. I feel the most for like Kendall and Kylie. Kylie's also basically not in this season, but Kendall in the last episode I watched, they're talking about the decision to leave, and she goes like, I was happy to do whatever they want to do, but obviously as someone who is a private person, I think this is the healthiest decision. But like she kind of had no choice. She was born into this almost. Like she was so young when they started filming. She's had to live her life in the spotlight without any question. Do you know what I mean? But then she is one of the world's biggest supermodels, so can't really cry over that really. She's had a good life. But I'm interested to see the last episode. I'm interested to see, is there any more mention of Kanye? I know you think there's not.
I personally don't think so. I think they'll skim over it. See what I did there? Skim. I think Kim will probably mention it in a confessional or something, but I don't think they'll go into it much further.
Like it'll be those scenes where it's like the headlines if they split, and she'll be like, so Kanye and I
decided to part ways.
So funny to me and Kendra were talking about this girl on TikTok, I can't remember her name, but she does all the impressions of like Courtney and Kim on the show. And I was watching one of the episodes the other day, and True came in and she was like, Court, and she was like, yeah, like no, I'm watching. She literally wasn't watching her, and I was like, that is literally. And then another scene, she was like with her salad, and I was like, that girl gets it so right. It's
so funny.
Courtney literally gives no shit about anyone. She's literally like,
no shit.
Thoughts like you part being like, I'm gonna love you forever and I'd do anything for you and I'm putting all my relationships at risk. And she's like, yeah.
Did you watch the most recent episode about the whole nanny thing?
No, I'm literally just finished the episode where they told the whole crew. That's all.
Oh, you need to watch the next one. Basically, Kim and Courtney get into this really awkward row after Courtney had a fight with Kim's nanny. It's so awkward. And like, I don't know, it's just the way Courtney speaks about the whole situation. I'm like, Jesus, you're a bitch.
She is a bit of a bitch. She's my least favorite Kardashian. Like, she, and then Kendall is next. But like, she just, sometimes I feel like she's very, like, she's kind of like on her high horse about everything. I don't know, she's kind of like, well, I'm a mom.
And it's like, yeah, loads of people are moms.
All mothers. They're all mothers except for Kendall. But yeah, I'm interested to see the end. I'm gonna be sad without it. Like, I also love at Christmas time. Do you ever watch like Keeping Up with Kardashians Christmas with a K? And they just replay all the Kardashians. Like,
yeah,
they are iconic.
Iconic.
And to be fair, I'm sure a lot of stuff did get cut out over the years. But to be fair, they've put a lot of stuff on there.
Oh my God, yeah. It's like insane the amount of stuff that they have shared.
like the inner workings of their relationships. I remember one of the early seasons literally seeing Rob in a bath with another woman and like rubbing her back. They're both naked. I remember being like, this is wild.
Was that Adrian, his girlfriend?
Yeah.
No, like the things, and remember, like, oh my god, the things that they used to share. Like, remember, especially the Miami seasons, like they were crazy.
Anytime it was Miami, I was like, ho, strap yourself.
Miami, it was insane.
Like, imagine being Scott and Courtney's kids. Like, they're gonna get to see their dad smashing things up, forcing dollar bills down a waiter's throat. Like, there's a lot of negative things on there, and like,
yeah,
lying, being like, I can't do this anymore. Like, it's gonna be pretty traumatic.
They actually discussed that in the latest episodes. You'll see that in the next one. They, like, Scott actually brings it up. He's like, you know, like the kids are gonna watch the show one day, and like there's a lot of bad stuff kind of thing. And Kim is like, yeah, like I don't want to have to explain who Chris Humphrey is to my kids. Like Chris Humphreys, remember that entire relationship? It was so bizarre.
Anytime they left LA, shit went down.
Shit went down. They should never leave LA.
Never be taken on New York or taken on. It's like when you go on holidays.
Yeah, Ali has this thing that like anytime I go on holidays or like I'm off work for a period of time, the world just combusts and like random shit happens.
No, like falls apart. It's not even when you take time off, it's when you go on holidays. It's a specific thing. It's when you're on holidays and I don't want to reach you because you're on a break. That's when the whole world
hits the fan. Yeah.
Like shit, it's a fan. But yeah, before we go, we obviously want to talk about Love Island. It's coming back. We don't have the exact date. I'm so freaking excited to watch people getting it on in bikinis and shorts and, you know, going into Casa more. Like, I'm ready for the drama. I'm ready for the heat. Like, I want it now.
Yeah, so I think we can expect it like start of July or else end of June. I think is when we can expect it to come back. It's going to be in Mallorca. We know that now, which is fab. So it's going to be in the usual Love Island villa. Yeah. Hosted by Laura Whitmore with Ian Sterling as well as the voiceover. So they obviously have their little baby now as well. I wonder if the baby will make a cameo.
Oh my god. They haven't even shown her face, but I wonder. He'll definitely make jokes about it, I think.
Definitely. But I'm just so excited. I think we like need this in our lives.
We need it. We need the drama. Like, I'm ready for an addiction again. Because like I know obviously life is opening up slightly this summer, but it's not fully back. Like we still have time to get addicted to a show. We're not gonna be flying off around the world. We're still gonna be here like at my time. So I'm ready for it. What do we know so far? Like, who has been tipped to join the house?
Yeah, so there's been a few ones that have been tipped. Let me just put on my glasses here for a sec.
Oh, very serious stuff.
Very serious stuff. So yeah, there's been a few people that have been linked to it so far. So there's one guy, his name is Talua, and he's actually a junior doctor. So he worked on the front line. So I think they're trying to bring people in that were like, you know, amazing during the pandemic, which I think is fab. Now these are all just rumored people. We don't actually know if they are going to be on the show. There's also another guy called Harley Ben. He's the son of a pro boxer called Nigel Ben. So it's kind of like Tommy Fury vibes, you know, they're bringing in a son of or a brother of someone kind of famous. And then there's a girl called Alexis Bailey who's an aerial dancer.
Oh.
And sources were saying to the Sun that apparently she's like, you know, really gonna kick things up in there, you know, like start some drama,
some more,
if you will. And I think she has an OnlyFans page, so she's one of those OnlyFans gals. Okay. So I think she's sure to like stir things up if she does end up going in. And then there's another guy called James Price who is described as a Chelsea party boy.
Oh, I love Chelsea in there.
Yeah, like, so they're the rumored people so far, but obviously we don't really know. There's been rumored lineups before and they haven't ended up being that at all. So
I think they'll definitely put in an influencer too as well, because obviously Molly May was an influencer. There's that other girl, I can't remember her name now, she was an influencer as well. I'd be interested to see. I actually don't even care who's in it this year. I
don't give a shit.
But I would love to see someone Irish. There was no Irish contestants the last season, which was the winter season with Paige when she won. I would love to see an Irish gal, an Irish guy, because it does keep us like a little bit more invested, I think, when there's an Irish person. We're just a little bit.
I have a feeling there isn't going to be an Irish person. I know, I hate to break it to you, but I don't think there will.
Because of Brexit/COVID.
Yeah, I just think that they're not going to, I think they'll just keep it to UK people, which is really upsetting because obviously like Maura Higgins was the most iconic thing to ever happen.
Before this all comes back, when I'm finished my college exams, so yeah, we're actually not gonna have the podcast for the next. No, we're gonna have one next week. Sorry, because it's our 7th birthday. Very excited. But the week after that, we're not gonna have podcast. We'll have like 1 week of a break, and then we'll come back. But when that's all over, I feel like I want to go back and rewatch the original Love Island series, as in like 2018, like the ones that I missed. I don't even know who Chris Hughes is. Like all I know is he did.
Yeah, I think if you were to go back and watch any series, I would watch that one.
2018.
Yeah, it was. Well, was it 2018? No, I think Chris. It was 2017. Yeah. And that was the one with Olivia Atwood as well. Like, she's so funny.
I didn't watch any of those, but I'm living for the lie detector test. I'm living.
They've scrapped that, remember?
I know, but I'm saying I'm living for.
From the old ones. Yeah, yeah.
That's like driving me to watch the old ones because I just want to see those episodes. But no, I'm really excited. I think as well, it'll be interesting to see even more changes because obviously the last season was right after Caroline Flack died. Well, sorry, it was during it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, so the winter version, I think. Oh yeah, it happened like right at the very end, right before it finished.
They were told the night of the finale, like that she died. So I think the next season is going to be even more safe, even more cautious, even more. I don't know. And I wonder, are they going to mention Caroline again? It's such a tricky one because obviously when it all happened, there was calls for Love Island to be scrapped. Like, so I'd be interested just to see if they're going to make any changes in terms of like the psychological side of it. Are they going to make it a little safer? Are they going to try to be less cruel? I don't know. Be interesting to see.
Who knows? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they change any of the tasks or anything, like even the whole Casa Amor thing, like there's been calls for that to be taken out before because they say it plays on people's emotions too much.
Or do you remember they were talking about the one where you have to guess like who the headline's about at home? There was a lot of content.
Like that is a shitty task nowadays. Now it's great for us to watch, but I can imagine like actually having to go through that would be horrendous.
I remember because my friend was on Big Brother, and I remember she told me when she came out that like the most horrifying parts were when you got the letters from home, because you could tell if something was wrong. They weren't allowed to say anything, but they might be like, "Oh, love, you're doing well. Everyone says hi," and then you'd be like, "Oh God, like that was really short.
Yeah,
like, what's going on?" Or keep just being authentic. Remember who you are, and then you're like, "Oh God, am I coming across?" Because they have no idea how like. The amount of hours of footage that's never aired, like that's what would give me anxiety. Like I could be really funny and really lovely half the day, have a tiny little upset moment later on, and I'd be in the house being like, was tonight's episode all just me being an absolute bitch?
Yeah.
Like maybe
I think that's what would kill me as well, the just not knowing how you're being perceived whatsoever.
I would never do a show like that. I couldn't.
No.
Like, not that I've been asked. I'm like, I'm not doing it. But something like that where like there's like The Apprentice and stuff like that where like you're not like, you don't have your phones taken off you the whole time. I don't think. I find it weird that like something is live while you're there and you don't know what people are saying, whereas like The Apprentice and some of those other shows, they're filmed like months before, Dragons Down and everything, and then it comes out later on. That's the scary thing about Love Island, is you honestly have no idea how you're being perceived, and then you come out, same with Big Brother, you come out and they give you like files and files and files of every paper cutting about you, and you have to just
suddenly, like that makes me want to get sick.
Like imagine being in the final, you would have like 8 weeks worth of coverage to understand what people saw, to see what people thought of you, to see the tweets, to see the trends. I remember last year, do you remember when Page won or whatever? I remember there was a report that like they weren't given their phones for ages, that they were like prepared by like the psychological team to be like, this is what happened. So I think they're the kind of big changes that we'll see with shows like this. Instead of just being thrown back out into the world and just being like, see ya. I think they need to be more like, we're here for you, explain the process, talk through what went on, and just protect them a little bit, like, you know?
Yeah, and I think ITV are under a massive microscope at the moment. You know, they're very, you know, everyone's eyes are on them and how they're going to handle things going forward. Yeah. So I do think that they will, you know, make a lot of effort to make sure that everything is handled the way it should be.
I'm so excited, and we'll be doing our usual like 7,000 articles a day on Love Island. So I can't wait. So like the timing is good. I feel like Keeping Up with the Kardashians is going to end. Love Island is going to start.
Yeah.
And like everyone will be like, it's so great to be living life again. I'm out every night. I'll be like, I'm in every night watching Love Island.
I'm in. Are you out or are you in?
Oh my God. Like, sorry, I need just anytime you ever seen an Oprah can you please send it to me?
Yeah. Are you watching Love Island or are you not?
Not. Like, did you watch Love Island or are you watching? Like, anyway, we shall leave you go. We will be back next week for our 7-year special, talking about 7 years, what we've been up to, our favorite moments, what's coming next, all exciting stuff. And yeah, we'll chat to you then.
See you next week.
Bye.
Live from the red carpet. The moment you've all been waiting for.
You what? Well, that hit the spot.